Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for our live session 3. I want to welcome everybody into my home. I'm in my home office, just like all of us. And Yaniv, I'll introduce him in a second. There's hors d'oeuvres and food and drink out on the table. Help yourself and just come back and join us when you can as we move through what I think everybody's going to find to be a very interesting conversation today. So again, I'm Gerald Finken. I'm CEO of RxE2. RxE2, if you don't know, is about incorporating the practice of pharmacy into clinical research. And really, when you think about it, it's Rx, pharmacy, E2, everyone, everywhere. So we're really taking a look about how we can bring the practice of pharmacy into clinical research and reach everyone everywhere. So if that isn't patient-centric and decentralized, I don't know what is, because the goal really is everyone everywhere, in all lifestyles, et cetera. So that's what RxE2 is all about. We'll get into a little bit more of that in a bit as we dive further into today's session. But at this point, then, what I'd like to do is introduce Yaniv, who's sitting here to my left here. Yaniv, yeah. Yaniv, welcome to this session. I'm so pleased to have you here. And even before I get started, I just want to thank you so much for your patience in explaining, this huge, massive idea about what technology is, into my mind about what pharmacy is and stuff. And so it's been just a wonderful last 6 months of relationship that we've been working together, which is why I'm so excited about sharing today with you, because I want everybody to hear, everyone everywhere, to hear what Yaniv has to say. So Yaniv is the CEO of Habitu. And Yaniv, I'd like to say welcome and thank you for your hospitality, for inviting us into your home. And I want to point out that I'm in California. And Yaniv, where are you?
Just across the street in Israel.
Yeah, just like that.
You see the light. I see the light in your window. Dark here.
Isn't wonderful? Again, decentralized, to say the least. So if we would, let's maybe jump into this. And I do want to point out there's a chat availability. So if you have questions, if you want to just like, Gerald, be quiet, I want to hear more of Yaniv, you can just chat on the side, and I'll ignore it, but we'll jump into this. So let's get started, Yaniv. And what I'd like to maybe, I know we had questions we had talked about that we were going to look at, but before we get started, why Habitu? Like, how did that happen?
Wow. Okay. Hi. So first of all, thank you very much, and pleasure to be here. And Habitu, it's a very interesting story. Actually, it was founded by Yoav, my co-founder and partner in this. And Yoav is coming from Teva Pharmaceuticals. Many years in the pharmaceuticals companies, leading innovation and clinical trials innovation. So definitely very much in that domain. And I'm more than 20 years in enterprise software companies that are providing values to enterprise customers, working a lot with customers, a lot with development, and basically, and this is where it becomes interesting, I'm, in my last position, led big groups of customer success people, customer success managers. And with customer success managers, and this is something that I know that in pharmacy and clinical development is less.
I would say, what?
Really,
what?
Yeah. So customer success are actually, it came up with the software as a service when this whole thing started. And they understand that we provide services to our customers and on a regular basis. And the idea was actually to nurture those customers on a regular basis and to provide them with value. So they make sure, we make sure that they get the value all the time. And at the end of the year, they will renew because they're happy. They are satisfied with the system. They work with it. They see all the value in what we provide them with. And they will renew their subscription with us. This is what customer success does. So I led these organizations, and all the time analyzing how the customers are using the system, what value they get, and how we can make progress with it. Talking to Yoav, he said, wow, this is very, very interesting. I like it. And with all the issues that I see in the clinical trial areas, if we were to treat the patients as customers and look at them as customers and not like as subjects in the trial, but as customers, and do the things that you do with your customers, I think it would look much better than what we see currently. And when I start talking to him about the technology that we are using to actually look on sentiment of patients and to see trends and to understand how people behave and how our customers behave, and to even predict based on analysis, are they going to leave us? Are they going to stay? How are they going to use it going forward? He said, wow, this is something we have to bring to clinical trials, to look at patients, to look at their behavior, and to predict what is going to be their next steps and to act upon it. So not just to say, okay, we know, let's act upon it. So this is what was the idea. And actually, we put it on in a presentation, went to a competition that led, the startup competition that led by Leo Pharma Innovation Lab. They did a global competition. We won this competition. We went to Copenhagen, great place to be in. We're in incubation there for 4 months and turned our idea of how to look at patients and patients' behavior into a product. And from there, got the investments and started on. So this is our story. And yeah,
that's excellent. And first of all, you're being humble. You're being humble. Let's talk about this Leo Award. So that if I can, I know a little bit to be dangerous, but why don't you put this in perspective? Tell us about what the environment is like for a startup tech company in Israel.
Okay, wow. In Israel.
I'm off script, but I hope you don't mind, right? This is
the startup nation. So
yeah.
Actually, if you want to start a startup, this is the place to be. Or probably in the Silicon Valley, but definitely in Israel as well. Mainly because of the good technical people that we have here. So a lot of technology, good engineers, good software engineers, definitely a lot of sources, and the ecosystem that we have over here. It's a very open and innovative kind of a culture. People are always questioning. Very difficult to take things as they are said. No, why is it like this? Why it's working like that, and so on. So this is why this culture in Israel of innovation and always challenging the status quo is very popular. Then if you add to it the ecosystem that we have here, VCs, legal, all the other services that you can just get across the street because it's so popular here, then it's a very good place for a startup to flourish.
So when you got the Leo Award, you were competing in that ecosystem. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, definitely.
Congratulations to you and to Habitu and to y'all too. That really is just outstanding to receive that. If I could, like one of the things you said is that what a perfect time, right, for you and Yoav to come together to be looking at patients, right? You said customers, and I know customers based upon the SaaS model, right? And we have listened to an excellent webinar the other day where they that's the idea. That's not calling, first of all, subject is out, even though that's an FDA term. Patients, it's like people. We're all people. And I love that. It resonates with me because if we're ever going to get to the point of getting clinical trials out of our psyche of being this scientific study, we've got to put it into our culture today, which means people have to understand, which we all know COVID, as bad as it is, it's like everybody became aware of clinical trials. People were getting into the trial because people wanted to be vaccinated. Now there's further news about that, whether you're placebo or active, how that goes. But nonetheless, there's an awareness. And I can't say enough, I really love the fact of what you just said about, what you're doing with customers in the SaaS world. Patient centricity has been the last few years just really taking off as we're really trying to understand. The advocacy groups are teaching us an awful lot about what it means to be a patient, and we're starting to incorporate. So it couldn't have come at a better time with what you're trying to do when we talk about patients. And I know we're going to get into this in much more detail, which is why I really wanted you on this program and to discuss this further. So maybe to help out everyone too, again, and it might be for many who's viewing today a little bit backwards, but I think it's important that we understand. So from a technology point of view, where you're coming in, right? Would we back up a little bit and talk about where we are today, right? Well, where we were when you talk about clinical trials. What is technology in clinical trials? In about 1 minute.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So technology, well, basically, I mean, we can see different kind of system, let's say, that are in clinical trials. It started years ago with the traditional, what we call the traditional systems, of the EDC and CTMS and all the systems that basically run the process of running a clinical trial from its starts to its end, and collecting the data from the patients, from the people, collecting data and analyzing this data. So eventually we know how it goes and make sure that we can submit it and so on. So this is the traditional ones, and we could see many different systems like this, different vendors. In recent years, we start to see consolidated systems. So something which is more incorporated that can give you different modules in the same solution. So you don't have to integrate and to work with too many vendors. So we can see.
Yeah, you're talking about it, like we see in the Financial Times about some of these really novel companies coming up with platforms. Is that the type of companies you're talking about? These newer companies, and also some of the CROs I know have some new platforms. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. So these kind of platforms that you can actually you plug in and they can take you from the beginning to its end. You don't have to integrate. Everything is incorporated. Everything is in one place. It's easier. One user interface and so on. So definitely we can see those, and we've seen some of these lately. And then in recent years, from technology perspective, to your question, we see wearables and mobile devices that are getting into the trial. So how to collect data continuously, seamlessly in a way, so patients not necessarily have to report it. It's on their wrist, and they can. It's been transferred exactly, and data is being collected. And now with the COVID, it's even became more popular than how to collect remotely to collect data. Obviously, the challenge with it is the quality. We have to assure that what is collected is right on the that what the system is getting is the heartbeat is the exact heartbeat. It's not something more or less. So it has to be certified and things like that. And how to manage teras of data, because your watch is continuously communicating and transferring data. And when we have thousands of those, definitely big data comes into the plan, and we have to analyze it and how to get the insights out of these teras of data. So definitely a challenge, but this is part of technology, and we learn and we all grow with it and move forward. We see lately that, not lately, but in the recent years, you want to say something?
No, I was just thinking like that quality of data. I always have a fun time with this because like I'm an athlete, so I monitor my heart rate all the time, and I had my Apple Watch, and I didn't like that because of accuracy, right? And so, I have another device, and I won't be doing sales here, but it's just fascinating because like I was watching my heart rate coming into the meeting, it's like up a little bit, you're like, oh, I have this live session to do, right? But then it really is interesting that my heart rate just went up 25 beats, right? According to this device, raising my hand. That's a lot of
Definitely.
data, but
Definitely part of the challenge. Definitely part of the challenge.
20 beats. Yeah.
Yes, definitely part of, because in the other days when the patient went to the clinic and the nurse was taking his heartbeat, okay, please relax, let's see that you may, and there was some kind of more control. When it's done remotely, when nobody is there, it's done continuously. How do you clean those noises? How do you see that? What is the context of your heartbeat goes up versus is it something happened, or okay, or we have to take a closer look at it?
This might be a perfect segue with what you just said, because these are the conversations that are occurring right now. And when I think about this, there's the clinical trials, but of course now with COVID, the industry has been looking for a solution, and we've been like indirectly, and I don't want to use this term necessarily, but forced, right, to the next generation or the next thinking, which is decentralized clinical trials. It's all over everywhere. And could you talk about then the transition based, from the clinical trial, the platforms we have, to these decentralized trials?
Yeah, sure. So decentralized trials were, 10 years ago, probably more even. And the idea behind it is, as you know, is to take some of the burden off the patient's shoulders and not ask them to come to the clinic every time for everything and to drive 40, 50 miles in order to get to the clinic and get to the visit or get to a treatment or to do anything. And basically the idea was you stay at home and we either come to you, so we send a nurse over, so she collects the information that is needed, or you are just wearing this wrist and it will be transferring information, or you will just go on a digital application or on your mobile and report something and answer some questions in the ECOA, and this is how we're going to get the information. So it was the alternative actually from having on-site and traditional trials to have it at home. COVID came out and definitely gave a great push to that idea, because patients just could not come to the clinic because of obvious reasons. And now thousands of trials got stuck. And the only solution was, let's go for decentralized trials. So let's keep them at home and let's start collecting data while they're at home. Lately, they're talking about hybrid. So, okay, we understand that not everything could be done at home. Definitely many things, some tests have to be done in the hospital. Some data that need to be collected have to be done at the clinic. So to have a hybrid where some of the things you'll do from home, some of the things you will do from the hospital. So this is what is out there currently, and companies that are running these kind of trials today.
I know it's interesting when I hear these things, and I should say I've been in the industry 40 years. I've seen it all. For us, technology, when I started in the industry, we got a fax machine. That was going to change everything, because I didn't have to run across campus to get a document. I could have it faxed to me, right? And through the whole magnitude of technology through the 40 years of where we are today, and just thinking about those changes. And I was going to make a point, and now I forgot it. I'm getting old, and Yaniv and Al were going to help me remember my point.
So the thing is, and with technology, because you mentioned technology, that technology is going to change everything, and this is basically one of the challenges that there are in decentralized or hybrid trials. That this human relation, the connection between people, it's becoming more and more of a challenge, because we have a technology now, and basically if I do everything from home, maybe I'm missing the relations and the connection and the human touch that to get to the hospital. Maybe I want to get to the hospital and to talk to the physician. And where do I get those relationships? Where I get to see that the personal attention that I would like to see and to feel, and not just only over the video and to do video discussions, but really the human touch. And this is something I think one of the drawbacks and one of the issues that we have in decentralized trials.
That's the point I wanted to make about telehealth. I mean, telehealth was 20 years, in North Dakota, telepharmacy actually became laws. So 20 years ago, the law was actually inputted about how to use telehealth. So it isn't not new technology. It's just using it in a new way in clinical trials, right? And of course, all the regulations now that they're dealing with that. So this would actually be and go ahead. I was going to say this is a segue where, as we really did the history of here we are, and now I want to lead into, so there's clinical trials, decentralized trials, and now there's Habitu. So if you would, maybe bring us full circle now to you, Yov, and Habitu, and what you're trying to do.
So this human touch that is missing, and this is the thing that we wanted to bring in. Remember our initial story about how to nurture our customers and how to work with them and to give them this feeling that we are there with them for their success. And this is a different perspective that Habitu is bringing to the arena. So we are not, obviously we're supporting the trial. So the trial have to work, the processes have to happen, all those things definitely need to work. Okay, the different perspective that we bring is that we look at it from the patient perspective as well. So what the patient needs, what are his concerns, what are his expectations, what are his things that he is not sure about, doesn't feel so comfortable to ask, and he keep on doing those things. So how actually we provide him with tools and with the abilities actually, first of all, to assist him, and then as he uses our platform, to decide on the right time to learn his habits, habits, to learn his habits, to learn his life routines, to understand what's happening with him, to learn it, and then to decide when to intervene in order to make it easier on him to keep being in the trial, to adhere with what he's supposed to, and do what he needs to do. So we would like to take this burden of the trial, not just by saying stay at home. Okay, this is one thing. This is the logistic part. This is the physical part, which, as I said, sometimes patients want to come to the hospital. They want to talk to the physician. They want to talk to someone who knows them. But how to make and how to adapt and to change actually the thing that he's supposed to do within the limits of the protocol, obviously, not hurting the protocol, but within those limits to make it easier on him and to change things as he goes. I can give you an example for something like this. We are doing a trial, a pilot in a company, and we've seen that for the system saw, not we, the system identified that the patient is very engaged all week long, but only on Fridays, he was not engaged with what he's supposed to do. We provide him with the application, he has the application, he has all the instructions, he has reminders, data, everything that he needs to have, he has it on the application. He even joined and asked his spouse to join as well, and she was on the application as well, seeing how things are progressing with him. And the system identified that only on Fridays he was not complying. He was not reporting that he's taking the pills. He is not reading things. He is not part of it. We've seen that something is happening. The system identified that he has his spouse in the trial, so understood that the supporting circle have influence on him, and that he's not engaged during Fridays with the application. So the system intervened, and actually only on Fridays reminded him and reminded his spouse and reminded him via email and not via the application that he needs to take his pills. So when these two happened, different channel of communication and some instruction from the spouse, only on Fridays, it went up immediately, and you could see how he was complying the whole week. So this is just one example of how we are approaching it and how we are looking on behaviors of patients, try to learn them and intervene in order to help them.
That's outstanding. You said a couple key words that are near and dear to me as a pharmacist, right? The compliance piece in particular, right? And about the social circle of the patient. And so I'd like to do is spend a little bit of time talking about, to give the audience in context where we're going to go next. And that is, RxE2 is a service company. Habitu is a technology company. And as we've been working together, one of the biggest things we have looking at this is how do we talk the same language? Customer, patient, people, right? As just one example. And so I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the services we have, and then I want to talk about how why Habitu is the best solution for us, in this model where we're going, and how other people may be able to use it. So if you don't know about RxE2, of course, we're incorporating the practice of pharmacy. We're pushing the pharmacist-led trial. And in a very basic overview of this is, right now there's the physician and the patient, right? In the commercial setting, once a drug gets approved, there's the doctor, the pharmacist, and the patient. And all we're trying to do with RxE2 is bring the pharmacist into this triad, right? And if you think about clinical research, the physician, of course, by law does what they're required to do, right? What we want to do is bring in the pharmacist to do what they're required by law to do to better assist for quality outcomes for the patient. So it's incorporating the triad into clinical research. But more importantly, why I call it pharmacist-led is because we're studying drugs, right? And why not have the medication expert in this research project that we're calling, study medication research, right? So bring the pharmacist in. So this is a service. And when we think about what the pharmacist does, besides the dispensing, one of the biggest pieces that we do is counseling, right? And I mean medication management counseling, not just, did you get the drug and this out stored, but really get into the medication management, which is where the profession right now is going. And so when you started talking about the compliance piece, what technology can do, pharmacists do that every day. We do that day in and day out, right? And so when we were building the RxE2 model and laying out about how we're going to do this and how we're going to have our pharmacists counsel patients in clinical trials, which we've done, right? We've proven the model, how effective that is with our pharmacists counseling patients. And then what we found is the drug gets approved, amazingly, right? Just because you put the medication expert in there. But we had some limitations. And Yaniv, I'd like you to, and you've known this because we've talked about this, that one of the things in a service environment, right, there's not the hockey stick effect. Like everybody talks about, and I forget it's not Moore's law, but whose law it is about the hockey stick, that in technology, you start off and then it just explodes. In a service industry, there's a growth, and that's where I've been all my life, in the service. And so there's this year over year. So when we looked at this, if I want to be counseling 10,000 patients, do you know how many pharmacists I have to have on staff, right? Yeah, a lot. And so we had this growth dilemma. And of course, that's when we started looking at platforms about what's out there, what we can use, what's available. And so now what I'd like to do is, I came to you with this problem, Yaniv, and why don't you talk a little bit more about why Habitu is the solution in a service model, about how, because it isn't just what we're doing. Any company that has a service, has a technology, we're grappling now, how do you put those in the same organization, like the same sphere, I should say, and make it grow? So can you address, just share with the audience about, like, you can't be like, no, Gerald, you've got to think about this differently.
This is why it was right on the money, because we come from this technology which enables this relationship, that enables and provide the service providers actually with the means and with the insights to do their job better, and not just better, just to have better quality of what the outcome of what they do, because we provide them with insights and we provide them with information so they can make better informed decisions. So our whole idea was not to replace, because the system by itself cannot replace clinical trials and the people that are in the clinical trial. And all the...
Yeah.
Right?
Yet.
No.
Yet.
No, I really believe in it. And especially in healthcare, and especially in health, because the patients, they need this attention. They need the human voice talking to them. It's a different kind of service that we provide than other industries. And this is where the human connection is very, very important. And when we come with this technology that actually provide, from one hand, the support for the pharmacist or to the clinical, for the trial coordinator, anyone who actually communicate with the patients, with information and with insights of what's happening with those patients that currently are not in the clinic or they are not in the pharmacy, because pharmacists cannot be in touch with the patient 24/7 all day long. So we are there collecting the information, providing support to those patients on 24/7 basis with chatbots and other means, actually to give them what they need. So when the pharmacist is not available, and then to escalate to the pharmacist or to escalate to the trial coordinator when something needs attention, when the system identifies that there's a behavior here or behavior change that might imply that something is going on. And this is a very good time to give a call to this person and say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? So now, if you take this and multiply it, because if you stand instead of, you have 10, 20, 100 patients that you can work with, you cannot run these relationships on an ongoing basis and still provide great service to all those patients without a system. You have to scale, the ability to scale, the ability to have to onboard pharmacists in an automatic way. So you cannot interview and get all those things one by one. They should get onboarded, get interviewed, get qualified, get all the information and get them on the platform in a seamless way to the sponsor, so they can onboard in a short time and be there ready and start do the work as part of the trial. So to scale, to maintain, to keep these relationships with the service provider, with the healthcare provider, definitely those kind of things that make this match between what you brought in and said, hey, this is what I need in order to grow, in order to scale and to have my service and the platform that we brought in.
Yeah, I'd like to take that a step further to understand some of the dilemmas we face. Even though, again, very successful, our pharmacist counseling patients, very successful. Like we said, there was a scalability. The second, more detailed aspect of this, one of the things, and I loved your 24/7 comment too, because one of the things is that our pharmacists found was the centralization of expertise, right? And so what happens is a clinical site, an event might occur, a patient may say something to a clinical site, one of 30, an event. The site, having never seen it before, not dismisses it, but doesn't recognize it as important. The pharmacists, our group was centralized, right? We would be talking to all the patients in the trial. We had like 2 pharmacists, a lead and backup. They'd be talking to this patient, they hear the same thing. There's a site 4 states away would say the same thing. This site didn't recognize it as something important. Our pharmacist caught it immediately, real time, and I want to use it. It's like it was really real time, meaning within a few days. And that event was so important, it would have cost us, it would have ended the trial. But since we caught it at patient like 8, right after we heard this, like these 2 things coming in at the time, we were able to real time take care of it. But the issue then we had is, okay, so that's like, we talked about the scalability. So can you talk to a little bit about, I'm really moving into like your AI aspect of this, right? Is that now I have an expert how do I leverage the expertise of that pharmacist, right, to keep them central? How do I, so it's not only about scalability, but how do I keep that, what I call like data to information knowledge, right? Data and information to knowledge to wisdom. And pharmacy, right, RxC2 is all about knowledge to wisdom, not data to information, right? And so how to talk to me, everybody, because it wasn't just, we're utilizing your platform, so talk to people about that.
This definitely was one of our goal together, because our platform actually, when we provide the means to the patient, and we have this the application to the patient, the site, the pharmacist get his desktop and the system on his desktop that he runs the operations, and this is where he is collecting the information or put his notes into the system. So he can provide us with, let's say, structured information, so we can ask specific questions and he answers in a structured way, or he can just freely say, you know what, I identified this and that, I should keep a note to myself, I should remember that in those situations we should do this and that. We know how to accumulate all those notes, all this free text, and all this knowledge that is being accumulated from all the thousands of pharmacists that are maintaining it in the system, and use our AI technology actually and machine learning to learn from that and to come up with insights and with recommendations even based on those notes, and feed it back to those pharmacists, so they will get to learn, and they will get to learn from their colleagues that put same notes or different notes, and have this cumulative wisdom of all those pharmacists working together. So they're not alone anymore. They're not just one with their patients and whatever I know, I know. No, I share this information that I get, and and only by documenting it in the system, because they are documented anyhow today, and we know how to share it and how to learn from that.
Yeah, that's excellent, because again, you keep stating things. It's like, as we were looking for solutions, one of the things as we incorporate the practice of pharmacy, there's no platform that has what pharmacists need, right? That is our counseling notes, right? Like we're taking information down, and it isn't necessarily clinical data, right? This is just information that the pharmacist would keep in their head, right? That we're not doing that anymore. Of course, when we did our trials, we had that information available, but it's like, where do we keep pharmacist notes? So again, looking at a platform which was again just instrumental in again what Habitu was able to provide us. I always like to watch time, and I'm looking to see if there's questions. Again, if you have questions, please do chat, and I hope that's working. And if somebody even just chat with me just to say, oh, good luck. Yeah, thank you. Just to know that's working. But maybe we're answering all the questions. But along those lines, what I'd like to do is, as we wind this down, is really just to get your take, maybe as a summary, like a takeaway from the working with like RxC2, but even other customers. It's like, what are some of the downsides of it? Like we talk, oh, this is great, the best thing there is. Everybody likes to talk about that, but what are some of the things we have to take a look at, or that?
Yes,
it's kind of like looking under the bed. Like, let's lift it up and take a look what's under the bed, because we have to be honest here, right? If the practice of pharmacy is all about trust with patients, we have to be trustworthy with everybody, right? So let's look at everything.
I think, and it's something that's very much, by the way, related to pharmacists, because we do see, for example, places where they start to have automatic dispensing, right? Yeah. So the dispensing part is becoming more and more automated. So sometimes you don't have even to meet the pharmacist. You just go to the machine and you put your ID and you get, or you put the prescription and you get what you get your bottle and you go away. And this is where I say, okay, there are some things that technology will replace. Usually the the things that can be done automatically, the things that are not related to relations. But when you come and say, hey, I would like to have, not would like, this is what's happening. We have relationships with those patients. We know them for years. We work with them for years. So it's not just the dispensing. It's the attention, it's the learning, it's the advice that they get. It's the asking, how are you and how is your wife, and have this kind of context within the health of the patient. These are the things that technology cannot replace. We can collect this kind of information, we can analyze it, we can bring some insights. We cannot replace those relationships. So I think that we should, and this is the challenge, where the line goes, where we do things and we say, yeah, this is something that a machine should do, because there's no added value for a man to do it, a person to do it. This can be done automatically, and let's automate it. We can give an answer at 2 o'clock in the morning to a patient. Depends what the question was, but if it's a simple question, we can provide it at 2 o'clock in the morning automatically. No need to wake up a pharmacist for that. And where it goes, and no, over here we need a human touch. We need a person to talk to a person and to have those relationships. And how to combine the two. And I think this is the main thing that Habitu is bringing, and together with RxC2, is to have this combination and the vision and the understanding that we are not going to replace with technology. We are just going to enhance it and have more shared knowledge and ability actually to support those pharmacists in doing their work and provide them the insights to do it even better, what they do already.
Well, wonderful. Again, thank you. I want to, again, publicly thank you for Habitu coming in and solving some key scalability issues, again, with RxC2 and the service we provide. And of course, wish Habitu the best of luck, in its endeavor. I'm going to start closing this down. So if anybody has any final questions or comments, I'd love to see them. But along those lines, I want to make everyone aware that I've asked Yaniv to join me again at the Fierce JP Morgan conference. And again, you go on our websites and there's links to that conference. It's on January 11th. So there won't be a live session in January, because I've been trying to do the 10th of the month. We'll be live at the Fierce JP Morgan. And we're going to take this a little bit further. And Yaniv has already given you a little bit of insight, and I didn't want to go there because I want to leave that first, but he talked about commoditization, in essence, about what technology can take over versus what they can't, right? And we're in this sphere called service technology, we're starting to realize that we can commoditize an awful lot, even dispensing, to the point where we're talking about getting to subscription pricing, not project pricing. And that's going to be a topic for December. So I hope you get all excited. Oh, I've got to hear about this. Amazing mind change as we change clinical research to this pharmacy-led trials, and even specifically, my expertise in drugs, dispensing of drugs. We can commoditize that to a single price. This is it, done. And as we again, I'll use the word commoditize. So welcome everybody to the January 11th meeting. Again, Yaniv, thanks so much for joining me. I want to wish everybody who did join me happy holidays, happy Hanukkah. I know starts tomorrow. Of course, we have the other holidays coming up here, and I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. Please, if you want to connect with us, if you want to talk to us individually, we're both in LinkedIn. You can look at the RxC2 website. And with that, I'm just going to say thank you again. Thank you, Yaniv, and everybody have a good day. All right.
Thank you very much, Gerald.
All right. Bye-bye.